Have you ever seen a stray dog quietly walk up to your porch and lie down as if it belonged there? Or watched a honeybee fly straight into your kitchen, hover for a moment and disappear? Maybe a dragonfly landed softly on your window frame and lingered, watching, waiting. These moments may seem random, but what if they are? What if they're signs that something is about to shift in your life? Across ancient Asian traditions, from Vietnamese folklore to Taoist energy wisdom, certain animals are believed to carry sacred messages. They don't arrive by invitation. They don't belong inside your home. But when they show up unannounced and unexpected, they bring with them the energy of transformation. A turning point, a blessing. Most of us, out of habit or fear, chase them away. We slam the door, we swat, we call pest control. What we don't realize is that in doing so, we may be rejecting a rare visitor sent to guide us toward wealth, protection, or healing. When a butterfly dances near your altar, it might be the whisper of a loved one returning. When a golden toad sits silently near your doorstep, abundance may already be on its way. In today's video, you'll discover 8 animals that arrive uninvited, but bring with them the kind of fortune you can't buy, plan, or predict. And by the end, you may never look at a quiet visitor the same way again. 1. Dragonfly, the whispering visitor that only lands where light is clean. It doesn't buzz, it doesn't bite, it doesn't demand your attention. But one summer afternoon, a dragonfly appears, hovering in the air like a tiny helicopter, tracing a silent circle above your porch before landing on your window pane, wings shimmering in the sun. You almost wave it away, but something stops you. A stillness, a sense that you're being watched or chosen. In Vietnamese folklore and many Eastern traditions, the dragonfly is no ordinary insect. It's a spiritual scout, a living compass that only lands where the air is clear and the energy is kind. If a dragonfly enters your home or even just lingers near the door, it is not by accident. Something in your environment, your home, your energy, your heart has shifted, and the dragonfly is the first to notice. These delicate messengers are drawn to harmony like a magnet to metal. Their presence is often linked to energetic cleansing. Maybe you've recently done a deep cleaning, rearranged your space, opened windows, or even just let go of a toxic thought. And then quietly it comes, a dragonfly gliding through your space as if to confirm. Yes, something here is healing, but it doesn't stop there. In spiritual energy reading, dragonflies represent more than just purity. They are signs of movement. They come when something old is leaving and something new is about to begin. A business idea, a breakthrough conversation, a shift in family energy. They arrive at the thin edge of change, like a ripple before the wave. Some traditions believe dragonflies are drawn to places where ancestors feel at peace. In Feng Shui-inspired Vietnamese beliefs, if a dragonfly lands on a window or porch, it's as if the home has just become visible to the good spirits, those who carry guidance, abundance, and protection. The dragonfly opens a doorway between realms, and through it, something long awaited may pass. The color of the dragonfly matters, too, each hue a different whisper from the universe. A red dragonfly, rare and radiant, is often associated with emotional rebirth. If one appears near your bedroom or garden, it might signal the opening of your heart. It could mark the return of affection long lost, the blossoming of unexpected love, or the start of a new business relationship built on trust. A golden dragonfly shimmering in afternoon light is perhaps the most auspicious. It's considered a carrier of wealth energy, fortune that comes not from hustle, but from alignment. If you see a golden dragonfly near your front door, especially after a long period of financial worry. It may be a signal that things are about to shift. New income streams, opportunities arriving with ease, delayed payments suddenly clearing. A green dragonfly brings messages of renewal and growth. It may appear just as you've made a decision to leave a draining job, close an old chapter, or move house. Its presence is a quiet validation. Yes, you're on the right path, keep going. And a silver or metallic dragonfly, rare, ethereal, and almost ghost-like, is often linked to the arrival of help. A mentor, a phone call, a quiet rescue you didn't know you needed. Many who have experienced deep personal crises have shared that just before something turned around, a single metallic dragonfly showed up, silent, calm, and hovering as if to say, "Hold on. The light is coming." Yet sadly, too many people don't know this. They see the dragonfly and panic, swat it away, spray chemicals, shut the window. In doing so, they unknowingly shut the door on something sacred, on confirmation that their space has become energetically fertile, on a signal that they are no longer stuck but moving, alive. So what should you do instead? When a dragonfly visits, do nothing. Just pause, breathe, observe. Let it move freely. If it chooses to land on you, let it. If it stays a while, smile. This moment is not random. It's a blessing disguised as a flicker of wings. A mirror showing you that your home and your heart are ready. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to interpret every detail. You just need to recognize what it is, proof that the energy in your life is rising. And perhaps that's the greatest wealth of all. 2. White dove. When peace knocks gently at your window, it comes quietly. No flapping, no screeching, just the soft sound of wings brushing the stillness of air. One morning, you're sitting by the window, sipping warm tea, watching the curtains sway ever so slightly in the breeze. Then you notice it, a white dove not just passing by but perched, calm, still, its eyes unafraid, as if it knows you, as if it came for something. In many Eastern and spiritual traditions, the white dove is not just a symbol, it's a soul in transit. A messenger of harmony from the spaces between breath and silence. And when it enters your home uninvited, it does not come to warn, it comes to soothe. Unlike noisy sparrows or nervous pigeons, a white dove only rests where the air is balanced, where words haven't been shouted for days, where pain, though present, has softened into quiet endurance. Its presence is like a balm, for the mother waiting on a call from her son far away, for the widow still folding 2 sets of laundry, for the family walking on eggshells after one too many misunderstandings. The dove does not come with answers, it brings alignment. In Vietnamese spiritual life, when a dove visits without fear, it's often seen as a signal that the house's Kai, its emotional climate, has ripened. It's ready to receive, ready to forgive, ready to allow joy to return in simple forms. A shared bowl of soup, a returned phone call, a long-delayed apology. And sometimes it's even more mystical than that. Many elders believe the dove carries messages from ancestors, a kind of silent postman between the heavens and the living. If you've been lighting incense for someone who has passed, especially if you've asked them for help, a white dove resting near your door could be their reply. And there's something else. If you've been caught in long periods of waiting for news, for a decision, for life to say yes again, the dove's appearance often precedes the answer. Not as a prediction, but a preparation. Its calm is contagious. And what follows for many is a soft unfolding. An email you'd given up on, a long-lost sibling reaching out, a peace offering from someone who once slammed the door. What should you do if a dove comes? Nothing dramatic. Don't run for your phone, don't make noise, just notice. Let it stay if it wants. Leave a little bowl of water if you feel called to, not as a ritual, but as hospitality. As if saying, if you carry peace, you are welcome here. When it leaves, don't feel abandoned. It came to remind you that something is already healing, and sometimes that's enough. The most powerful signs in life are not loud. They don't knock, they don't demand. They land gently and wait for you to notice. 3B, when prosperity buzzes in, disguised in wings of gold. It usually starts with a soft sound, barely noticeable at first. A distant hum, a lazy zigzag through the morning light. You're standing in your kitchen, opening the fridge or washing a few dishes when a honeybee floats past your ear and lands right there on your kitchen windowsill. You pause, your first instinct. Worry, is there a nest nearby? Should I get rid of it? But maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't. In traditional Vietnamese and East Asian beliefs, bees are not pests. They are sacred scouts, energetic architects, messengers that only arrive in spaces where something is growing quietly beneath the surface. When a bee finds its way into your kitchen, the very heart of your home's energy, it's like the universe whispering, you've been sowing well. Now comes the harvest. Bees don't enter just anywhere. They avoid spaces that are stagnant, cold, or emotionally heavy. Their instinct leads them only toward balance, toward homes where the family may have started speaking more kindly, where food is cooked with care again, where financial stress is softening into patience. If a bee flies into your kitchen, it means the fire of your household, the energy of prosperity, is alive. In Feng Shui-inspired Vietnamese culture, the kitchen isn't just where meals happen. It's where abundance is born. It represents wealth, livelihood, and family health. So when a bee visits that space, the message is clear. Good fortune is gathering here. Something sweet is on its way. Now let's look deeper. When bees begin to build a hive nearby, under your roof, near a windowsill, or tucked behind a balcony beam, this is considered an even stronger omen. It's believed to be a sign that wealth is not just passing through, but settling in. Especially for those who work from home, run small businesses, or live off freelance work, the presence of a hive often marks the beginning of a busier season. Orders increase. Clients call. Money flows not because you push harder, but because your energy has become magnetic. And what if the bee flies straight into your pantry or lingers near jars of rice, fruit, or honey? That's no coincidence. In folk beliefs, these are the physical symbols of stored wealth. The bee, by hovering near them, is marking them as activated, aligned with abundance. But here's the tragedy: many people panic. They kill the bee, spray chemicals, call exterminators, and in doing so, they disrupt not only the insect, but the delicate energy the bee carried with it. The message, the invitation. So what can you do differently? If it's a single bee, pause, smile. Let it find its way out naturally. Open a window, breathe. Some people place a small bowl of water with sugar outside as a gentle thank you. It's not superstition, it's energetic reciprocity. A way to say, I honor what you bring. If it's a hive and you must remove it, do so respectfully. In Vietnamese folk wisdom, burning cinnamon, lemongrass, or using natural scents like citrus can gently guide the bees to relocate. Don't destroy. Don't smoke them out. Just lead them with compassion, because what they leave behind, if you've treated them kindly, is a lingering blessing. A field of energy that continues to support you even after the wings are gone. So next time you hear a soft buzz, don't swat. Stop. Ask yourself, what have I been planting that is finally ready to bloom? Because prosperity never shouts, sometimes it hums. 4. Dog, the silent guardian that chooses you, not by accident. You didn't call for it, you didn't leave food out. But one afternoon a dog appears, quiet, Alone, no collar, no signs of panic. It walks slowly up your driveway, sniffs the doormat, and without hesitation, lays down on your porch as if it's home. At first, you might feel confused. Is it lost? Should I call animal control? But before you reach for your phone, pause. Because in many spiritual traditions, including Vietnamese and Native American belief systems, dogs are not just animals. They are energetic guardians. Protectors that appear at thresholds, not just between homes, but between chapters of life. When a stray or unfamiliar dog chooses your home, it often means your energetic space is undergoing a shift. You may not feel it yet, but something is being rearranged. A protection rising, a blockage softening, a fortune approaching. And here's the thing, dogs don't go just anywhere. They are some of the most emotionally intelligent creatures on Earth. They sense mood, fear, kindness, even spiritual tension. If a dog walks into your space and lays down calmly, it means your home has passed a quiet test. The energy is open, the frequency is safe, and maybe, just maybe, you're being chosen to receive something. In Vietnamese folk beliefs, dogs are believed to sense the presence of invisible protectors, what we might call ancestors, guardian spirits, or even inner resilience. A golden-colored dog is seen as a blessing from the god of wealth. A black dog, often misunderstood, is thought to represent hidden protection, like a shield against unseen challenges. A white dog carries the energy of reconciliation. Peace after conflict, calm after storms. But beyond the symbolism, think of this. Dogs are drawn to warmth, not just physical warmth, but emotional steadiness. If your home has recently gone through hardship, loss, arguments, financial stress, and yet you've kept a gentle tone, a clean space, or even just a flicker of hope, a dog may feel that and respond. There are countless stories online and in communities of people who have had stray dogs show up before something big changed. A promotion, a check in the mail, news from a relative. In each case, the dog came first, as if to hold the door open for what was about to arrive. So what should you do? Nothing extreme. Don't rush to take it in unless you feel called to. Don't chase it away either. Just offer a simple gesture of welcome, a bowl of water, a kind word, a calm presence. If the dog leaves, that's okay. If it returns, pay attention. Its return is not random. It may be anchoring something invisible, something you're not meant to see yet but will soon feel. And if by chance that dog stays and becomes part of your life, know this, you didn't adopt it. It adopted you. It saw something in your home that even you might have missed. A door ready to open, a heart quietly healing, a life preparing to change. So the next time a silent dog comes to your doorstep, don't rush to explain it. Just listen. Because sometimes the universe doesn't send messages. It sends guardians. 5. Golden Toad, the tiny oracle that appears when Earth decides to bless you. It's not pretty, it's not graceful. It doesn't flutter like a butterfly or glow like a firefly. But one quiet evening you walk out to your porch and see it. A toad, small, still, sitting there as if it has nowhere else to be. You almost miss it. It doesn't move, it doesn't croak, it simply waits. And in that moment, something in you pauses too. Toads have long been misunderstood, seen as ugly or even unlucky. But what if they are? What if this odd little creature, covered in earth tones and ancient wrinkles, is actually a symbol of something sacred, something arriving soon? In many spiritual interpretations across cultures, the toad represents grounded abundance. Unlike animals that fly or float, toads are close to the soil. They absorb the world through their skin. They don't chase, they sit. And when one shows up at your doorstep, it's often a signal that something in your life is about to settle into place. Toads are drawn to calm, to quiet homes, to spaces where energy isn't chaotic but rooted. If one enters your home or appears in a visible spot near your front or back door, it may be a whisper from the universe. You've built something steady, now let it grow. But there's more. Some people have reported that a toad arrived days before a long-awaited phone call. Others say a toad showed up near their kitchen, and within a week, their finances began to shift. An unexpected check, a contract signing, a conversation that unlocked opportunity. It's not superstition, it's intuition. Because toads come when the soil is rich, when something is about to sprout. And yes, even in modern homes, in suburbs, city gardens, or backyard patios, they find their way in. There's also meaning in where they appear. If you find a toad in or near your kitchen, take note. The kitchen, across cultures, is the symbolic hearth, the source of nourishment, fire, and financial vitality. A toad here is like a spiritual thumbs up. Abundance is close. If it appears in the living room, calm and unmoving, it might suggest a meaningful conversation or relationship is about to begin, something that brings emotional or material stability. If it shows up near a window at twilight, that's often seen as a transitional moment. It may hint that something is leaving, an old worry, a long chapter, and something better is quietly stepping in. What should you do? Nothing extreme. Don't touch it, don't scream, just let it be. Maybe place a small bowl of water nearby, not as an offering, but as a quiet acknowledgement. I see you. I receive the message. And if the toad leaves on its own, know that it didn't vanish empty-handed. It left something behind, an energy, a shift, a seed. But here's the most beautiful truth. Toads don't travel far. They return to places where they feel safe. So if one comes more than once, or if you notice a tiny trail in the morning dew, feel comforted. That's not just nature. That's alignment. You're not being tested, you're being prepared. Because sometimes, fortune doesn't arrive in loud packages. Sometimes it comes with warts and wide eyes. And when it does, may you be wise enough not to chase it away. 6. Butterfly, the gentle return of someone you thought was gone. It always feels like a moment out of a dream. You're dusting the bookshelf, folding laundry, or just watching the light shift across the floor. And then without sound, without warning, a butterfly glides through an open window. It dances in the air, slow and delicate, not rushing, not lost, just present. It lands on a table or a windowsill or hovers near a photo frame. And for some reason, your heart aches a little. Across spiritual traditions worldwide, butterflies are seen as messengers from the unseen world. Not of danger, not of fear, but of connection. Of someone, something you once loved, softly reaching out to say, I haven't left. I just changed form. If you've lost someone, recently or long ago, you may already know this feeling. A butterfly doesn't flutter like a random bug. It lingers, it observes. It floats near the spaces where love still lives, an altar, a family photo, an old chair no one sits in anymore. And when it arrives, something in the air shifts, quieter, softer, like a hug without arms. Butterflies show up in moments of reflection, when you've been thinking of someone who passed, when you've asked the sky for guidance, when grief starts to loosen just enough to let breath back in, and the colors matter too. A yellow butterfly, bright and cheerful, is often seen as a sign of success on the horizon. Good news, approvals, answered prayers. A blue or purple butterfly might carry messages of emotional healing or spiritual growth. A white butterfly, simple, clean, often marks closure. The soul has moved on peacefully. And a black butterfly, it's not bad luck. It's resilience. It tells you that you've passed through the hardest part. That light is returning and you're still here. But perhaps the most sacred experience is when a butterfly flies near an altar or gently lands on a photo of someone who's gone. It's in these moments that time bends. Many who have lived through loss will tell you, the air becomes still. The light changes, tears rise, but not from sadness, from recognition, from reunion. What do? Don't wave your arms, don't rush to capture it on camera. Just pause, let your heart do the listening, maybe whisper a name. Or say quietly, thank you, I feel you. Some believe butterflies bring blessings, others say they carry prayers upward. Either way, the message is the same. Love doesn't leave, it changes form and finds a way back to you. So the next time a butterfly visits, especially when you're not expecting it, consider this. Not all signs are loud. Some float in on silent wings. 7. Swallow. When the winds of change carry a feathered promise. Sometimes it's just a shadow, a soft shape darting across the curtain. You look up and see it, a slender-winged bird, swift and elegant, gliding in graceful loops across the yard. Maybe it perches on your porch railing. Maybe it swoops low, almost brushing the top of the grass. Or maybe, just once, it dares to enter, slipping through an open window before vanishing just as quietly. It's a swallow. And if it comes, know this, something is shifting. Swallows have long been symbols of spring, of return, of renewal, of fate beginning to move again. In many cultures, especially across the spiritual West, a swallow's appearance has always meant one thing. Your season of stillness is ending. It's time to stretch, time to open, time to say yes again. These birds don't lose their way. They have a near mystical sense of direction. If a swallow comes near your home or even enters it briefly, it means your space is aligned. The energy you've been cultivating, through patience, forgiveness, quiet healing, is now calling something brighter in. And yes, it often arrives just before something begins. A new project, a sudden opportunity, a relationship that feels different than the rest. Unlike butterflies, which carry messages from the past, swallows point to what's ahead. They don't linger, they move. But in that quick movement, they signal momentum. That things long delayed will begin to move again. That roads once closed may open. Many people who have felt stuck report that after seeing a swallow near their home, small signs began to shift. The call back came. The loan was approved. The apology they never thought they'd get suddenly arrived. What's more, swallows don't fly into just any home. Their nervous systems are sensitive to frequency. They avoid heavy, chaotic energy. They're drawn to stillness, clarity, and readiness. If one enters your space, even for a moment, it means something about your home, your heart, has become magnetic to new beginnings. So if you see a swallow, or better yet, if one enters your house, open the door both literally and spiritually. Open the windows, let the light in. Say yes to the next thing you've been hesitating on, because the swallow never visits just to pass time. It comes to mark a turning point. 8. Snake, the sacred threshold between who you were and who you're about to become. It catches your breath, the sight of it. A snake, smooth, silent, gliding across the garden path or near your door. Your first instinct is fear. A tightening in your chest, a step back, and yet it doesn't strike, it doesn't chase, it simply moves with purpose, with calm, as if it's not there to harm but to deliver a message, and maybe it is. In spiritual symbolism across cultures, the snake is not just a reptile. It's a gatekeeper, a sign that your life is standing at the edge of transformation. Snakes don't wander aimlessly. They're drawn to transition points, between seasons, between light and shadow, between the old self and the new. So when one appears near your home, especially if it finds its way inside, it may be a signal that your soul is preparing to shed something. A belief, a fear, a limitation that no longer serves you. There's a reason the snake has been both feared and worshipped for thousands of years. In ancient Western traditions, it was the symbol of healing, the caduceus of medicine. In Eastern paths, it represents Kundalini, the energy coiled at the base of your spine, waiting to rise. In energy terms, the snake enters when the spiritual soil is fertile. It may mean that a dormant part of you is awakening. A truth you've buried is surfacing, or a path you once rejected is opening again, this time with clarity. And yes, the type matters. A golden or light-colored snake often represents sudden elevation, financial, professional, or spiritual. An opportunity that seems to come out of nowhere, but has in truth been forming for years. A water snake, smooth and quiet, symbolizes emotional healing. A soft release of grief, an old wound finally losing its sting. A silver or bronze snake may indicate the unblocking of something stuck, money that was held up, words that were withheld, doors that were closed. But above all, here is the most important thing: never react with fear. Don't scream. Don't lash out. If you must move the snake, do so with calm. Open a door, give it a path, say a quiet blessing if you're comfortable, because your reaction determines what the energy leaves behind. Snakes, more than any creature, are sensitive to how they're received. If you greet them with violence, the moment closes. But if you meet them with stillness, you've honored the transition and the blessing remains. And afterward, burn herbs. Not to remove the energy, but to seal it. Let the smoke remind you, something ancient passed through your life today, and it left a key. What will you unlock? Final, not every visitor comes with footsteps. Some arrive on wings, on silence, on instinct. They don't ring the doorbell, they don't wait to be invited. They appear unannounced, unassuming, and remind you that life is always speaking, always reaching, always flowing through signs so gentle they're easy to miss. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to explain, just notice. The way the air feels when a butterfly enters the room, the hush of a dog laying on your porch, the weightless pause when a swallow swoops by the window, the stillness in your breath when a snake passes, not to harm, but to open something ancient. If your heart is soft enough, you'll hear it. You'll feel the quiet affirmation that your home is becoming a vessel, that your energy is aligning. That fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold. It sometimes arrives wrapped in wings, fur, or silence. And so, tonight, as the house settles and the lights dim, you might sit for a moment longer. You might think back, was there ever a time something small tried to visit and I didn't know to welcome it? If so, it's not too late. There will be other wings, other paws, other quiet eyes watching you from the edge of mystery. Will you be ready next time?